These times are strange, it's quite surreal. It's never been like this. Remembering the good old days when we could hug and kiss. We'd pack the gyms and restaurants and move through public settings. We'd give high fives and drink at dives, hold hands and dance at weddings. Now the days are longer, yet they're darker in a way. We're pressing pause on normalcy, just going day by day. But we can still make jokes and art, garden, dance and sing, cook, read books, try on fun looks and learn about new things. We can talk with friends of ours and have a heart to heart, just so long as we'll stay 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. It's the newest thing to do. Stay 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. The distance between me and you, 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. And when I say I'll keep you very close to my heart, it's purely metaphorical. These times are quite historical, so step aside, let's live our lives 6 feet apart.
Welcome everyone. We are so excited. We have been waiting a year almost to get to this show. This is our Stellar Story Slam, all about love. We are 6 Feet Apart Productions. I'm Regina Stoops and I will be your hostess for the evening. Tonight, we're so excited to bring you this first ever Stellar Story Slam. And why is it stellar? Because all of these storytellers are exceptional and outstanding. And each one has already won a story slam on our show. And now this is the culmination. This is the cutthroat competition all about love. And also, you, the audience, are going to get to vote for who is the Stellar Slam champion. Now, tonight, in addition to all of these wonderful storytellers, we have an action-packed show. We have a special guest storyteller, and he's a Moth legend, Mr. Nestor Gomez, and he's won 61 Moth story slams. He's won more than anyone else, and he's going to tell a story tonight that's never been told on any stage. This could have been story number 62, but he didn't get his name drawn out of the hat at the Moth. 2 times they overlooked him, but we have him. So this is going to be a wonderful night, okay, on top of everything else. So let's give a shout out to our live Zoom audience, everybody. Give us a wave, show us some love. Woo!
Woo!
Awesome.
Woo!
Yeah. We got a lot of people in the house. This is one of our biggest shows. So thank you so much for showing up for this. As I said, our theme is love. It's everything about love. Did the stars align, or did you get sucked into a black hole? Did Cupid hit the mark, or did he miss by a mile? And it's about love, about anything. I mean, stories about love, affection, desire, dread, all things, peoples, pets, food, and anything else that you might love or loathe beyond measure. Now, these stories are true. They're personal. They're not rants. They're not going to be read. They're not stand-up comedy. Most of them, they don't have X-rated language, but we certainly can't guarantee that they're appropriate for young ears. So just keep that in mind. You're all used to coming to virtual shows, so you're probably all, naked from the waist down, and that's okay. It is a show about love. But, relax, turn your phones off, and get yourself a beverage, and get ready to enjoy a great show. Now, our first competitor won at our August 16th Story Slam with his story on the theme of true grit. He's a native New Yorker who now does his business exclusively in the town. He's Puerto Rican sports playing. He's representing the town tonight in the clothes that he's wearing. He loves to have a good time and share it with the people. We asked all of our cast, by the way, what their stripper name was, and his stripper name is Flash 8th Avenue. So please welcome Flash, also known as Chris Williams. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you so much. I found love in a hopeless place kind of twice, but I'm gonna tell you about the first time. It's 2010, and I'm from New York City, and I'd never really been anywhere besides the East Coast. Got an opportunity to move to Oakland. wow. Didn't know anyone there, didn't know where I was going to live, but I knew I was going there. I had connected with folks who were working at the organization, and I said, hey, please help me out. I'm going to be working with you all. And the only response I really got was, have you tried Craigslist? Not getting super far, I was discouraged. I got an email from a person named Jen, and she said that there was a room available in Oakland. And I was like, wow, it's too good to be true. And all I had was a phone number. Okay. Call this phone number, and this is the exact conversation that happened. Hi, I'm Chris. Hello. Can I move in with you? Sure. Do you want any information from me? You watching the World Cup? Yeah, actually, it's the first time I'm watching soccer in ever. Who you got? I don't know. Okay, cool. I'll see you on July 27th. Yeah, I'll pick you up from Oakland Airport. That's it. So I was really excited, yet I didn't know what I was getting myself into. The time comes and I land in Oakland. Have a bunch of missed messages, all telling me that this person is not going to pick me up. But Jen is there instead. I see somebody in the airport yelling my name. Chris, Chris. I figured it was for me. Jen takes me from Oakland, where I thought I was going to be, to Daly City. Not quite Oakland. But the one thing I remember is that, you know, coming from New York, I had a t-shirt and shorts on. And then she took me to Twin Peaks. And I had never seen the fog be made. And that was a rude awakening. But here I am in California. She took me in and out. Overrated, but good. And I hung out in Daly City for a couple hours while I was waiting for this unknown person to pick me up. In this place, I was excited and nervous and didn't want to mess anything up because I didn't know anybody. I only had 2 giant bags and this skinny self. And as the night progressed, it turned into a party, but like not a party I'd ever been to. All of a sudden, there were tons of people around me playing video games, drinking beers, smoking weed. And I was into all that stuff. And then it turned into kind of a drug party. I had never seen so much cocaine on a table before. And people were starting to do lines, and it was getting to my turn, and I just decided to move away. And as people started to turn to me to figure out what the hell was going on and why this guy wasn't so cool, in walks in this 5'7" looking, Indian looking brown guy. And he goes, "Is Chris here?" And I was so thankful and immediately in love with this man who I didn't know, who then took me back to Oakland. And I was his housemate for 7.5 years. We're married now. That's not true, actually. We're not married. I'm going to marry him and his fiance later this year. However, we've been through so much in these 10.5 years that I've been in Oakland. I love this man like no man I've ever loved before. And before I moved here, I don't think I can ever say anything like that. So shout out to my guy, Sohail. I love you, bro. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being first out of the gate, Chris. Sorry, it looks like we got a little Zoom hack going on. The show's got a little bit of everything for you. I'm telling you, people are just trying to get in. If they can't get a ticket, they're going to try to get in illegally. What can I say? It's a popular show. All right. So thank you for finding love in a hopeless place. Thank you, Chris, and welcome to the town. And yeah, you know, summers in the Bay Area, bring a parka and a swimsuit. Okay. Next up, our next storyteller, he won our June 14th show for his story on the theme National Children's Day. And he lives in Oakland, and he's a classic jack of all trades. I love his resume because he was a national park ranger, a gluten-free bakery manager, a junk mail salesman, and a professional cyclist. So he is just a Renaissance man, let's just say. He discovered storytelling a few years back, and he has since won several story slams at the Moth, including a Grand Slam, and he finally found his passion as a middle school teacher. And I just got to give him props for that, because I've had middle school kids, and that is tough, man. It's a tough zone. So anyway, and his name, by the way, at the clubs when he's out is Oscar Howe. Ow, bow, bow, bow. That's what I say. All right, but let's give it up for Mr. David Rodriguez.
Thank you so much for that. One of my favorite things to do in my relationship is to manipulate my girlfriend into watching a movie with me. She hates sitting down for more than 5 minutes. She's an action-oriented person. So it was a particularly triumphant evening early in our relationship. We were watching Ghost. And it was that scene in the alley where Demi Moore looks at Patrick Swayze and says, "I love you." He says, "Ditto." She says, "That doesn't count." And then simultaneously, Patrick Swayze and my girlfriend said, "Yes, it does." And while Demi was interrogating Patrick, I was interrogating her. And she shared with me that in her family, she couldn't ever remember her mother telling her, "I love you." That, you know, her father died when she was young. Her mother took her and her identical twin sister to Iowa, where they're the only two Chinese people within 100 square mile radius. And her life was about action and survival. And so I resigned myself that when I said I love you to her for the first time, she wasn't going to say it back. But what I didn't expect is that she would look pissed off. The first time I said I love you, she kind of narrowed her eyes and said, "What does that even mean?" And I kind of chuckled at my interpretation of kind of a dysfunctional response until I realized I didn't have an answer. And so I resigned myself to every time I say I love you, I was going to say why I was saying it. You know, like, I love you because every time I go to bed and I see you there, no matter what kind of day I had, I feel like I have a good life. But sometimes I would forget this bargain I'd made with myself, and I'd just be passing her in the kitchen and I'd say I love you, and I have to go running back and be like, "Because you chop vegetables without cutting your fingers." And then I'd just kind of like shake my head and she would glare at me again. And I was just like, how am I going to survive in this relationship? Like, I'm an American male. We peddle in words, you know. We've taken chivalry from slaying dragons to opening doors, and we're even working on getting that removed, you know. And my family, we say I love you every day, every night, all the time. And could I live a life never hearing it? And then I started noticing, like, if I had a hard day, the way a bowl of soup would kind of uncannily appear before me, or when she stayed by my side when I had a routine medical procedure that I was pretty babyish about. And I started to show I love you with more actions, cooking dinners poorly, but doing it. And then one day I was in the car with her, and she let out this panic gasp, but she was looking at her phone, like the kind of thing you hear and you think, "Oh my God, someone in her family died." And I said, what's happening? What's happening? You know, like trying to look at the road, but look at her. And she said, "It's my mom. She sent me a message." I was like, "Oh my God, is she okay?" And she reads it. It says, "My darling daughter, I want you to know how proud I am of you. I love you with all my heart." It was over WhatsApp, but it was her first "I love you." And she was frantically typing back. I said, "What are you saying?" She said, "I'm apologizing for everything I've ever done wrong as a daughter." And I said, "Don't do that." But then she glared at me, and I thought, okay, I should stay out of this. And a couple of days later, she texted me, "I decided not to apologize and just receive the love." And one evening I was at a Sinead O'Connor concert, and Sinead O'Connor by myself, and Sinead O'Connor was singing the song Queen of Denmark. And it was like this searing indictment of love, you know, that was just going straight into my soul. And I was feeling rise up inside me every heartache I'd ever had. And every time I'd ever broken someone else's heart, and that guilt was battling with that loss. And I was just terrified of Sinead O'Connor. And as was every man in the audience, I think, She was such a powerful person. She didn't need anybody. And all of a sudden I felt a buzz in my pocket. I pulled out my phone, I looked at it, and it was from Ruhoy, my girlfriend. And it said, "I love you because you're the greatest man I've ever known." It felt like my first "I love you." I just felt, it was over text, but I just felt this warmth go through my whole body. And "I love you" had never made me feel before. And I started thinking about how much we've been through together and how she taught me what love is really about and how she taught me what it means to fight for your best life and to show someone you love them. And I thought, how can I text back the perfect words to respond to this incredible moment in my life? And then I tapped back, thumbs up. Thank you.
Hey. Whoa. Woo. Yay. Yay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Right, we got 2 down, 3 more to go. Hello, everyone. All right, thank you, David, AKA Oscar Howe. Thank you for that story. Can there be love without "I love you"? I think you've shown us that there can be. Our next storyteller, one in September on the theme of blame. In addition to telling stories, she's also a producer and Better Said Than Done. It was a real in-person storytelling show until, of course, last year when it became a virtual storytelling show. But she has performed all over. She's performed at such venues as Atlas Performing Center, National Women's Equality Monument, the National Mall, the Miracle Theater. It's all about women. And she also puts on the Women's Storytelling Festival. I'm doing a shameless plug here because I am going to be on the Women's Storytelling Festival in March. And also my co-producer, Claire Hennessy, is going to be telling a story as well. It's a whole weekend of stories brought to you by women. So hello, ladies. Also, next Saturday, the 27th, another shameless plug, I'm going to be telling a story as well on her show. If you'd like more information, go to Better Said Than Done. So enough of the shameless plugs. This woman is known for all the people who love to come and watch her when she does her pole dancing as Cooter Vaughn. But I'll go ahead and bring her up by her real storytelling name. Please welcome Jessica Robinson.
I got divorced in my early 30s from a guy I started dating in my early 20s. And the good thing about dating in your early 30s as opposed to in your early 20s is that I had matured as a woman. Not mentally, of course, but physically. I had matured enough to understand what my body liked. And unfortunately, it seemed like some guys that I was dating, they hadn't matured into understanding what a woman's body likes. Roy was the perfect example of this. He and I met at a singles meetup, and he was, he was good looking enough. I wasn't immediately attracted to him, but I guess he thought I was good looking enough because we went on a date and then another and then a couple more. And, eventually after a month and a half or so, we did the deed. We sealed the deal. We had sex, and it wasn't good. I mean, it was bad. Okay, it was bad. And I figured, well, okay, I did that. Don't have to do that again. Except here's the thing. Roy was always available on Saturday nights, and he didn't want a commitment. So I could keep having a date on Saturday night while I was looking for something better. So I did that. And the thing is, there really wasn't anything better out there. There was only this one guy, and I had actually met him before Roy. He and I had met on Facebook, and we had flirted for like a year before he finally came to a party I was having. And oh my God, talk about animal attraction. I could not keep my eyes off him. And every time his eyes locked on mine, I felt like he thought I was his dinner. And I liked it. But nothing happened that night. And then a week later, his status changed in a relationship. And then a little while later, I started dating Roy. And then 6 months later, I was still dating Roy. And then it got kind of weird because it had been 6 months. And so we had that talk where we were like, yeah, I guess we should try not seeing other people and being monogamous and see how that goes. But here's the thing, sex. Now, it still wasn't good. And I had brought it up a couple times, but every time I was like, hey, maybe, you could try some stuff. He was like, oh, I don't need to I'm fantastic in bed. And then it was kind of awkward. Like, what am I supposed to do? Work hard to convince him that no, he was terrible in the sack? Like, that was weird. But now he was it. So it was time to take the sex thing seriously. So I bought a book. I bought She Comes First by Dr. Ian Kerner, and I read it, research, and it was good. I mean, I learned things about my body that I didn't know. And I recommend, if you have a woman that you would like to please, that you also buy She Comes First. But if you're not going to read the book, I mean, women, our bodies are complicated, but I can sum the book up for you in one word. That word is clitoris. I mean, once you figure that out, the rest is just butter. And because I am an equal opportunity lover, I also bought the sequel, He Comes Next, which, is about guys, in case you couldn't figure that out. And if you have a man in your life that you would like to please, I recommend getting He Comes Next. But if you're not going to read it, I can sum that book up for you in one word as well. Penis. Yeah, it turns out guys are not as complicated as no one assumed that they were. But they were both good books. And after doing my research, I brought Roy She Comes First, and I handed it to him. And he said, oh, I don't need that. And I said, no, you really do. And so he took it and he put it on his bedside table, where it sat for months, gathering dust while nothing got better. And so finally I had a night where I just lost it, and I was like, that's it, we're reading this book together. And I took it out and I started reading it to him and showing him the illustrations, to which he kept saying things like, ew, gross, which, maybe is an indication of how bad he was. And so that was it. I gave up. I broke up with Roy. But because this story, I think you'll agree, this story more than any other requires a happy ending, I should tell you, purely coincidentally, a little while before I broke up with Roy, that super hot guy that I told you about, his status changed to single. And about 2 weeks after I broke up with Roy, that super hot guy's status and mine changed in a relationship. And there's a lot of wonderful things about my now husband. But one thing that I really appreciate about him is that he knows who comes first.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I tell you, thank you very much, Cooter Vaughn, for that story. This is an educational show. I want to say, and I haven't really had that difficulty. I can relate way back, but my wife and I, Diane, I think we wrote that book. So we know, I'm just saying, we know our way around what you're talking about. Okay. Just telling you. All right. So next up, but thank you for that, Jessica, for Love and Sex in My 30s. Next performer, he won on our May show, and the theme was International Internet Day. And I asked for clarification for his last name, and he said, well, I'll just go by one name, like Prince. Like, okay. I think he has relatives in Minneapolis or something like that. So regardless, his stripper name, however, is Spartacus Mandana. He's a professor of business analysis at the University of San Francisco, which may be why he won on International Internet Day. I'm not sure. But if you'd like to be added to his mailing list, he said, just look him up, his name along with University of San Francisco, and you should be able to find him. Now, I'm not sure if you put in Spartacus or you put in his name, but try them both and see. But he said he's really easy to find. Anyway, he has told stories all over in San Francisco, in LA, in Madrid, And so please, a warm welcome for Spartacus Mendana, otherwise really known as Vijay Mehrotra.
Woo! Woo-hoo! Woo! I think I'm officially unmuted, so I'll start. The phone was ringing and my heart was pounding. I did not know the person I was calling. I lived in a large group house with one telephone for all the residents. It was 1991. And one day I got a phone call. I picked up the phone and it was a call for one of our house guests. And I was immediately taken by the sexy voice and the flirtatious manner of the woman on the other end of the phone. And I passed the message along to our house guest, but I also wrote down her phone number. Her name was Diane. I didn't have the courage to call Diane for some time. It was a miracle that I had a woman's phone number. I was an engineering graduate student in a place where women were outnumbered by men by a factor of 10 to 1. The women friends I had in graduate school told me that for the ladies, the odds were good, but the goods were odd. And I was very odd. I was depressed. I was at the bottom of my class in graduate school. I was afraid about failing out of the program. I was terrified about running out of money. And I drove a $900 rusty Subaru wagon that was on its very last legs. I was terrified about the future. And I was certainly too scared to call Diane until today. And now the phone was ringing. It was the first ring, the second ring, and the third ring. And I was about to hang up and I was secretly relieved when the voice came on the phone again. Hi, it's Diane. That same sexy sound that I remembered so well. And I talked too fast. I tried to tell the story about why I was calling and who I was. And she was very relaxed and claimed to remember me. And I'm not sure she did, but we fell into an easy conversation again. And after about 15 minutes, again, I have no idea what we talked about, but after about 15 minutes, I got the courage up to say, maybe we could continue our conversation in person somewhere, sometime soon. And she immediately said, "Oh, do you mean a date?" And I said, yes, I do. And she just kind of laughed and on the phone said, "That's great. Let's do this. What should we do?" Now, it turned out that she lived in San Anselmo, north of San Francisco, and I lived in Palo Alto to the south. And I proposed as a first offer to get the conversation started that we should meet for dinner in San Francisco. And she said, "That sounds nice." And she suggested something else, slightly more risky. And I said, "Well, that would be great, but what about this?" And we continued on in this manner, each suggesting slightly more risky, slightly more intimate, slightly more exposed activities. And at one point she said, "Let's go mountain biking." Now I suck at mountain biking and I panicked. I as fast as I could, I blurted out the first thing that came into my mouth, which said, "Let's go to the beach instead." To which she immediately responded, "Oh, I would love to take you to the beach. I'm a complete nudie. And I've got some wonderful beaches in Marin. I'd love to show you." And at that point, I couldn't imagine a more risky or more intimate activity to undertake with somebody that I'd never met before. And I was too far in to back down. And so it was agreed the following Saturday, 6 days away, we would meet in the town square of Mill Valley, fully clothed. Without any information about my appearance or hers, we would simply try to find each other through intuition. That gave me 6 full days to just be worried and anxious. And on Saturday morning, it took me more than an hour to drive up from my house to Mill Valley, which gave me lots and lots of time by myself for negative self-talk. I couldn't quite believe what I'd gotten myself into. I got to Mill Valley and I parked my car, and with my heart racing, I wandered into the square and found a seat on the bench. And I recognized her right away. I recognized her in the only way that I could. I heard her voice. And I turned my head and oh my God, this woman was unbelievably beautiful. 5'3" brunette, hard body. It turns out she was a Pilates instructor and a masseuse, which I learned later on. Beautiful brown eyes and a smile that just slayed me. And I watched as surreptitiously as I could as she continued her conversation with her friend. Yes, I was undressing her mentally, but mostly I was really nervous about her doing the same thing to me. When she and her friend finished her conversation, I got up somewhat sheepishly. I walked 10 feet across the way and introduced myself. And she just smiled. She gave me this huge smile and this big hug and said, "It's great to see you." And then we were off to the beach. We took her car. Fortunately, I wasn't sure mine was going to make it over the hill. And we stopped at the Whole Foods to get stuff for a picnic. And we drove, and the conversation came somewhat more easily than I would have imagined, given how anxious and uptight I was. And I remember driving over the hill and both of us singing out loud spontaneously to REM, "It's the end of the world as we know it, then I feel fine." Of course, I didn't feel fine. We parked the car, we got our bags, and we walked about a half a mile down this somewhat treacherous slope path. We got to the beach, and I had not been briefed on the protocol of what to do on a blind date at a nude beach. And so I decided that I would follow Diane's lead. She put down her beach towel and she took off her clothes immediately to exhibit her phenomenal body. And I nervously laid down my beach towel and took off my clothes somewhat more slowly to display my somewhat less impressive physique. Now, I must have looked a little bit nervous because after a minute or two, Diane suggested that what we should do is get stoned, rub one another up and down, front and back with sunscreen, and play Frisbee. And so it came to pass that I found myself on a beautiful sunny day on a fantastic Northern California beach, completely naked, throwing a Frisbee with the most beautiful woman I had ever dated while stoned, and trying to understand how it is I had arrived at this place. After a while, we stopped playing Frisbee and we had our naked lunch. And Diane gently said afterwards that she was going to take a little bit of a nap and maybe I would want to join the game. And at 2:00, about a dozen people from all over the beach jumped up and walked over to this area near the ocean and discussed the rules and picked teams and carved out lines. And although I didn't have the guts at that moment to get up, I did get an opportunity to watch a game of co-ed naked ultimate Frisbee. Now, if you went to college in the Midwest or the Northeast, you may have seen t-shirts that say that on the back, but I have seen the game played and it is exhilarating. And as I watch those players give it their all by wearing their none, I was just impressed and inspired, not only with them and their willingness to lean in to their vulnerability, but with my own. I had taken a little risk. It took me a couple of months, but I'd taken a little risk and I had called Diane and I'd taken another risk by accepting her invitation to the beach. And oh my God, I had this magical experience, this day that 30 years later, I am literally still talking about. And I thought at the time that the lesson from that experience was to stop being afraid. But Diane and I, who have been friends for over 30 years, and Diane, who was on the show today, later on, when we talked about this experience, she corrected me. She said, courage is not the absence of fear, but it's the willingness to act even when you're afraid and to triumph over your fear. I'm just glad I picked up the phone. Thank you.
BJ. Hey.
Yay. Kind of fun, this backstage audience stuff.
All right. Thank you very much, Spartacus, for that most revealing first date. Wow. That is a most revealing first date. That would be something. I think the most remarkable thing is that you were naked on a beach in Northern California and weren't like frostbitten, because that's a rarity right there. Shrinkage and all, am I right? Okay. So finally, we are going to bring to our stage the winner of our November show, which was on the theme of rescue. His actual stripper name is Dark Chocolate Decadence. At least that's what he said. He said that's a nod to the way that he got through college. That's how he got his tuition and his books paid. We'll just leave that to your imagination. And also, it's a flavor of custard at Culver's, which I think if you're from the Midwest, you will know what Culver's is. It's awesome custard, but you got to be in the Midwest. Does art imitate life? You decide. He tells stories to make sense of the world, and the world doesn't make sense yet, so he is continuing to tell stories. So let's bring to the stage the tall guy with the short name, Corey May.
I'm living a romantic comedy. If BET and Hallmark had a kid, I would be on that channel. My relationship is interracial, international, and long distance. It's phenomenal. Zoe is my girlfriend. She's 5'11". She's an artist. She's incredibly intelligent. She's a real go-getter, and she's beautiful. Me, I'm 6'4". I'm from Iowa, which is flyover country. It's the land that you fly over to get to someplace else. And I'm exhilarated for the opportunity to leave. But with every romantic comedy, there is a problem. Zoe informs me the day before I leave, my toilet seat is broken. Now, Zoe is multilingual. She speaks French and some Spanish and some Portuguese. My German is rusty. I speak American, but I speak the international language of Guy. And what I heard was, there's a problem and I can fix it. We're walking down Main Street in Vancouver, British Columbia, arm in arm, stride by stride. I'm looking at her and I can't take my eyes off of her. I don't remember whether we were going to Home Depot or Canadian Tire, but Zoe knows where she's going and I'm following along. We make it to the toilet seat section. I have my own opinion, but Zoe selects a plastic one. I say, babe, maybe. She looks at me. I know what I want. I shut up. She knows what she wants. We walk back to her apartment. And then she says, you know, Corey, you had an opinion. What was it? And I said, babe, you know, that plastic toilet seat right here, it's going to be cold when you get up in the middle of the night. Why don't you go back and, you know, we can get a wooden one and it'll be more temperature sensitive, and it's environmentally conscious. She thinks for a moment. She says, we'll go back tomorrow, which is how I find myself walking down Main Street in Vancouver, British Columbia, with a clear plastic bag and a toilet seat, and people are looking at me and laughing, and I don't care. But we have the receipt. We return it and get the wooden one. My opinion mattered. And then we go back to her apartment. I get into some workout gear. She heads into the kitchen. I'm going to do this thing because I speak the international language of Guy. Plus, I also checked out the wooden toilet seat and the undercarriage and harness. All that apparatus was a hell of a lot easier than the plastic one, which required a degree from IKEA. And I didn't have that. So I went simple. I checked under her sink and she's got the proper cleaning tools, and I clean and I disinfect it. Then I remove the toilet seat, put it in the plastic bag, install the wooden one. Now, I have to tell you, my handiwork was good. And I'm in my workout gear and I don't know, I hadn't quite fully gotten to sweat, but I was glowing. And the toilet seat itself, because of my handiwork, it too was glowing. I call Zoe in. Zoe, check it out. Come, my queen. She looks at me. She looks at the toilet seat. She looks at me again. She breathes. She sits down with her clothes on. I'm not that kind of freak. And she smiles. And for the next 10 to 12 seconds, she looks at me with such affection and such love. I want to stay there all day. Now, here's the thing. I know she could have done this by herself, but she let me do it. And it feels fantastic. I take her hand and lead her out of the bathroom. She washes her hands and sets up a dinner tray for me, and we eat. And every time she looks up at me, there's such admiration and affection that I'm head over heels about this woman. Now, she has more tasks that she wants me to take care of, and I do them because, why? I speak the international language of Guy, and I can fix things. The last time I saw Zoe was February 5th, 2020. And then this little itty bitty microorganism with 5 letters and 2 numbers came into play, and I ran up against something that I simply couldn't fix. Boom.
Yay, thank you. Ooh. Yay. Thank you for that. Thank you, Corey, for that story. Thrown for a Loop. Thrown is in Throne. Jessica gets it. You guys get it. All right. I don't need to spell it out, but I think, I don't want to be prejudiced here, but that's a really good story title. Thrown for a Loop. Okay. Thank you very much, Corey, AKA Decadent Dark Chocolate. So we are getting to the time where we're going to vote, the moment everybody has been waiting for, to find out who's going to win bragging rights, who's going to win $75, and who's going to win what? A custom made WWE belt. Yeah, I'm talking SmackDown, baby. SmackDown. All right. So before we go and vote, though, you'll be voting on our website, sfapshows.com. There's going to be a big red button that says vote. Before we do that, I want to bring back each of our storytellers so that you can just be reminded of them and be reminded of their story. So first, we will bring up Flash 8th Avenue, otherwise known as Chris Williams. And remember, his story was finding love in a hopeless place. All right. And after Chris, we had the Renaissance man, David Rodriguez, otherwise known as Oscar Howe, with Is There Love Without I Love You? And of course, representing the ladies tonight, we had Cooter Vaughn, Jessica Robinson, talking about sex in the 30s, and open the book, all right? Just look at the book, guys. Read the directions. With visuals. Thank you, Jessica. All right. Next up, of course, we had Spartacus, otherwise known as Vijay Merota, and A Most Revealing First Date. So let's have Vijay. Hey, there he is. Okay. And finally, and last but not least, of course, we had Corey May, Decadent Dark Chocolate, Thrown for a Loop. So those are all our storytellers. And when you go over to the website to vote, you'll find their real name and their porn name along with a picture. So it should be pretty clear who to vote for. You won't make any mistakes. By the way, it is one person, one vote. We have very strict protocol here. There's no, we're stopping the steal right here, right now. So while the voting is going on, you've got time, take your time, but leave the audio on because this is the moment when we are going to bring up our guest storyteller. As I said before, he's a Moth legend, Mr. Nestor Gomez. I asked him for a stripper name. He didn't really have one. He had Bear. So I don't know if it's B-E-A-R or B-A-R-E, but I'm just calling him the Bear Boss is all I'm saying, because he is the boss. And he was born in Guatemala, and he traveled to the United States in the mid 80s, undocumented. And he began telling stories as a way to help overcome stuttering, his childhood stuttering. And since then, he's just taken off. He's performed his own solo show, Sold Out, in Chicago. And he proudly produces 80 Minutes Around the World, which is international immigration stories. And anyway, I'm just so pleased to be able to bring him to the stage. And if you want to know more, NestorGomezStorytelling.com. But in the meantime, go over to SFAP Shows and vote and enjoy this never heard before story from Mr. Nestor Gomez. Thank you.
Hey, can everybody hear me? I just unmute myself, so I want to make sure. Yes? Okay. I met her at a nightclub. And from the moment that I saw her, I noticed that there was something special about her. Her smile. And the thing about her smile was that when she smiled, you could see that one of her tooth had grown all the way up here, way up than all the other ones. And all her other teeth were crooked very badly. What are you looking at? She said when she caught me looking at her. She covered her mouth with her fist to try to cover her crooked teeth. Nothing, I say, and I smile back at her so she could see my crooked teeth. We hit it off because we had so many things in common. We were both from a Latin American country. We have both come to the United States undocumented. And obviously, we both had crooked teeth because our families were poor and didn't have enough money to take us to the dentist to get them fixed. We hit it off. We started dating, and eventually we moved in together. You know, I have always wanted to get my teeth fixed, I told her one day. Yeah, me too, she replied. But isn't it too late and too expensive? It's never too late. And we could start saving some money, I told her, to get our teeth fixed. She smiled, putting her fist over her mouth to cover her smile. I smiled with my mouth closed, so I didn't have to show my crooked teeth. We kissed. We made love to celebrate our decision that we were going to get our teeth fixed. We went to the dentist, and the dentist said, the first thing that we need to do is, in both of your cases, we have to remove 4 teeth because you have too many teeth in your mouth. We have to remove 4 of them, 2 from the top, 2 from the bottom. So we could remove 1 today, and next month you come, we remove another one. Then the next month you come, we remove another one. No. I told the dentist, remove them all today. Let's get it over with all at once. Are you sure? He said, looking at me, at her. We both nodded in agreement. That night, we went back home in pain. We were happy, but this time we didn't make love to celebrate. Instead, we held hands as we lay in bed, trying not to move so our mouths wouldn't hurt. It took many months of going to the dentist. After we healed, we had to get our braces, and then we had to keep going to get our braces moved. And then after many more months, the braces came off, but then we had to use retainers. It took a long while for us to get our teeth fixed. But when the retainers were finally done with, we were happy. We celebrated, we kissed, we made love to celebrate that we had our teeth fixed. But my girlfriend was still covering her mouth whenever she smiled because she had been so used to do that she kept putting her fist over her mouth. So I will remind her every time that she did that, do not cover your mouth. You have a beautiful smile now. Let everybody see it. And I will smile too, because we have been through so much to get our teeth fixed. We have many things to celebrate. We have many moments to smile. We celebrated many things together. But eventually we started to have problems, and our problems grew. And we're having so much trouble that she moved out of the house. But we wanted to work on our relationship. So even after she moved out, she would come visit me. One night she was supposed to come to visit me, and we were going to watch a movie, we were going to have dinner. I was hoping that we were going to celebrate the fact that we were trying to get back together. She came home carrying a movie, and she said, this is the movie that you wanted to see it. I got it. Cool, I say, do you want to watch the movie now, or you want to watch it after dinner? Actually, she said, I cannot stay. I have a job interview in the morning tomorrow. so I cannot stay. That night we didn't celebrate, we didn't have dinner, we didn't celebrate, we didn't make love. She looked at me and she smiled as she walked out of the door. I watched the movie by myself. I ate by myself. And I was about to go to sleep by myself. But then I thought, I need to get out of the house. I need to go to a bar. I need to go have a drink. I need to do something so I don't drive myself crazy here, so I don't get so sad. So I knew there was a nightclub that was open that night. So I decided I'm going to go check it out. I went to the nightclub, and at the door, I almost turned around because I didn't want to go inside and see all those couples hooking up, dancing together. I wasn't on the mood. But it was better than staying home alone. So I went into the nightclub. And I had expected to see couples dancing together and kissing, but I hadn't expected to see my girlfriend there dancing with a guy. Because you see, that was the reason why we were having problems, because she was cheating on me. And there she was, dancing with her lover. It hurt to see my girlfriend in another guy's arms. It hurt to know that she had lied to me and that she had been lying to me over and over again. But what hurt the most was to see the way she was smiling at him. It didn't feel anymore like she was smiling at me or that she was just smiling. It felt like she was laughing at me. Thank you.
Oh, Nestor. Oh, thank you, Nestor. Thank you for that. Oh, I'm sad for you, Nestor. I mean, I felt that. I know you're good now, but gosh darn it, that was a great story. And
we're still together.
Oh.
No, we're not. No, we're not. You think I'm crazy?
Wait a minute.
Now I can laugh at it. See?
Yeah, good.
Smile took too long, so now I can smile things.
And you got smile. You can smile. You got great teeth. So there you go. I guess that something good came out of it. So that and your story. So thank you, Nestor. Thank you very much. All right, we want to see how the voting's going, and I'm going to bring in my co-producer Claire Hennessy, who has the results of tonight's voting. Claire, where are we at?
It was a very close thing at the top three. We're really quite close all the way through. And I just want to say, I loved all the stories. I'm really sorry about we had our Zoom hacker, because poor Chris got a bit hacked in the middle. But I do think how brilliant to keep going regardless. Well done, Chris. You get my vote. And thank you all. Really funny stories and really moving stories. So thank you. So we have the envelope and we have the winner of our Stellar Story Slam, and the champion, who's going to get certificates, he's going to get money, and he might even get a championship belt, is VJ. Oh, there we are. VJ. Anyway, well done. Excellent.
Spartacus.
I'm just excited to wear that belt on my next trip to that beach. Just the belt.
Just the belt and nothing else. Spartacus. Okay. VJ, congratulations. We are going to bring back each of our storytellers, though, because all the stories were wonderful and we'd love to hear them. So we'll bring everybody back, and let's bring back Chris Williams. Woo! Bring him back to say hello.
Hello.
Show him some
Thank
love. All right. David Rodriguez.
Yay.
Wow. Yay. Jessica Robinson, Cooter Vaughn. I can't stop saying Cooter Vaughn. I'm sorry, Jessica, because it's just it just rolls off the tongue, as it were. I'm sure it's in the book. And next, well, VJ, of course. I guess VJ was here. He's gone, but now let's bring him back. There he is. Okay. And finally, Corey May, Decadent Dark Chocolate. Bring him back up. Thrown for a loop. I just have to say that title one more time. That was wonderful. And also, let's not forget to thank our wonderful audience, the Zoom audience. Where are you? Woo, everybody in the Zoom, everybody in the audience. That is wonderful.
And thank you, Nestor.
Yes, of course. Of course. We want a big thank you to Nestor for coming and sharing that story. Never heard before. Take that, Moth. And I want everyone, if you want to know what's coming up, we have a show on March 6th. It's called Every Song's a Story. And as you can guess by the title, it's going to be some singing and some storytelling by some very talented singers and storytellers. And that's March 6th. And also we're having our 1-year anniversary show on March 29th. I cannot believe it's been a year. And all information about that you can find at our Facebook page. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to us at sfapshows.com. And thank you so much. This would be not nearly as much fun without an audience. We would probably still do it anyway because we love to entertain ourselves. But still in all, thank you for the audience. That's what we needed. Special guest, Nestor Gomez. And, thank you for stretch denim, because without it, I'd probably be naked most of the time. So I just want to say, drive safe. That's a wrap. We hope to see you back here. Thank you for coming.
Thanks. Bye.
6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. It's the newest thing to do. Stay 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. The distance between me and you. 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. And when I say I'll keep you very close to my heart, it's purely metaphorical. These times are quite historical. So step aside, let's live our lives 6 feet apart.